Queensbridge, April 1994. Nas drops his first album, Illmatic, and is instantaneously given hip-hop's crown. His lyrics, nothing short of brilliance. So much so that he was ahead of his time. The first album to garner 5 mics from the Source magazine, as he was becoming rap's young budding king. But what people didn't know was that Nas was the first of a new era of super MCs that began with KRS and Rakim. Brooklyn, NY, September 1994. Biggie Smalls drops Ready to Die, which leaves fans in a state of euphoria. Not since Slick Rick the Ruler himself had storytelling been presented so detailed, vivid, while also being graphic. A hip-hop Stephen King, who was not long after labeled the King of New York, which by default at the time was also hip-hop's crown. Brooklyn, NY, June 1996. Jay-Z releases Reasonable Doubt, a hip-hop gem, instantly labeled a classic, as fans were now familiar with this new breed of supreme lyricism, which is where our story begins. Sean Carter was a visionary, a hustler who was in the process of aligning himself with the superpowers of rap in mob-like fashion, so it only made sense to invite Biggie Smalls as well as Nas to take part in his coronation. Biggie would accept and don his supreme vocals on a track that was of course labeled Brooklyn's Finest. But it's alleged that Nas wanted no part of this alliance, and as a result was a no-show for the session that would have featured him on Jay-Z's Bring It On. But Jay-Z would not be denied, so he instead sampled Nas's voice from the Whose World Is This remix, for which Nas did not appreciate. Nas also wasn't feeling the fact that Biggie was now being labeled as the King of New York. After all, it was literally months ago where that title had belonged to him exclusively.
It's one life, one love, so there can only be one king.
Nas would drop his second LP in July of '96, beginning with the song called The Message, in which he took subliminal shots at Jay and Big. But it would actually be Biggie who would provide the first response, labeling Nas the mad rapper in a skit on his second album. This would appear on the track Kicking the Door, when he reminded Nas of how long his reign on the top actually lasted.
Your reign on the top was short like leprechauns.
I don't understand. Why you so mad?
I'm gonna tell you why I'm mad, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm gonna tell you why I'm mad.
Nas would later confirm this on his album Godson. But before the diss would be released, Biggie Smalls' life would unfortunately be cut short by gunfire, which now left the hip-hop community still reeling from the death of Pac and Shot and Mourn. They were just involved in a war that rocked the coast, and now within a year, they were both gone. Jay-Z would soon make his claim to the throne on The City Is Mine, which was released in late '97. Ironically, he also chose to sample Nas's voice again on Rap Game Crack Game, and the streets embraced Jay as he was cranking out hit after hit, solidifying himself on the top. In 1999, the first of many perceived subliminal shots at Nas would come in the Memphis Bleak song featuring Jay-Z called What You Think of That. Nas would then fire a subliminal shot back on the title track of his album Nostradamus, which was not very well received by the fans. Memphis Bleak would throw a more direct shot on his song Mind Right. Nas was feeling the strain of the commercial success that Jay-Z was garnering, and it's perceived by many that this is why he went away from his core sound with songs like Nostradamus and Shorty. And to many, it looked like Nas's career was hanging on by a thread. But in the middle of the back and forth, unbeknownst to most people, was that Nas's mother, Ann Jones, was enduring what would ultimately become a 3-year battle of cancer. Nas was emotionally drained and done with the subliminal back and forth. Thus, the first direct shot would finally be thrown, and Nas in his rawest form returned back to the street element that initially donned him the crown. The raw diss was well received by the fans, as well as Jay-Z, who then issued a stark warning to Nas after unleashing a vicious diss to Mobb Deep, as Jay performed part of the song Takeover at the Hot 97 Summer Jam.
No, you not on my level. Get your break, sweet. I saw what your whole album sold in my first week. You guys don't want it with home. Ask Nas, he don't want it with home.
Later that year in September, Jay-Z would release arguably his greatest album ever in The Blueprint with the completed version of Takeover, which not only took direct shots at Nas, it damn near ended his career. Takeover, which was viewed as one of the greatest diss tracks ever made, was a clever play off of Dr. Dre's fame. essentially devaluing Nas's career as well as his street cred. Although the Stillmatic diss was appreciated, many fans could not get the Nostradamus album out of their head, and it seemed all but over for the Illmatic MC. There is just simply not many MCs that could have recovered from a diss like that, especially when their career was already on the brink. But only a few months later, Nas would drop the album Stillmatic, containing what would also be labeled as one of the most potent diss songs ever made, Ether, transforming the explosive substance ether, which was a noun, into a verb that would forever be ingrained into hip-hop culture. You got ether. The streets were on fire, with most claiming that Nas was the victor, even though Jay had a big amount of fans in his corner as well. Jay-Z immediately went into damage control by dropping his most personal diss yet, which he warned Nas in Takeover that he would eventually do, Super Ugly. Another playoff of Dr. Dre exposed that Jay-Z once had an intimate relationship with the mother of Nas's child, Carmen Bryant.
Gotta hurt I'm your baby mama's favorite rapper.
Even though Jay had clever lyrics as usual, the song was rushed and sloppily put together and definitely did not make a relevant impact on the beat. Jay would also get pushed back from some fans who felt that he took it too far. Even Jay-Z's mother expressed her displeasure with the song. Jay-Z would do another song aimed at Nas on the title track of the Blueprint 2, which was filled with more brilliant wordplay. But by then, the beef between the two was more of a side note to their music. Nas would also take one last swipe at Jay with the song Last Real Nigga Alive, which seemed more of a truth song than a diss song.
Baby moms thought I was too quiet. She hit the streets. Later on, she hitting the sheets with a rapper who wanted me on his songs. I gave it all up so I could chill at home with mama. In the middle of that, Jay tried to sneak attack.
It was on this track where Nas would actually give us our first glimpse into the unspoken beef between him and Big that ultimately died with the late Notorious rapper.
Y'all know about my Biggie walls. Who you thought kicking the door was for? Y'all still tripping off the jigger.
And just like Jay's Blueprint, the song, while well received by the Nas faithful, would not make much of an impact on the beef. At this point, it seemed that the two Dons could take this no further, and many fans were publicly wishing for the two to reconcile, which was beginning to feel inevitable when Nas would spit a verse on Kanye's song We Major from his second studio album through Rockefeller Records.
So you know what I did? You know what I did for y'all and for hip hop? I said fuck that shit. Let's go, Esco. Now give me that shit.
And then out of the blue, just like a bomb, there they were.
You saw what happened with Biggie and Pac. They never got a chance to resolve their situation. Look what we're doing as Jay-Z and Nas.
What else do these warriors do? Do they still fight it out to the end, or do they now come together? I think there was a moment even when Jay was like on the radio, and he was like, yo, you know, mom said chill. His mom was telling him it was like, and my mom, bless her, was listening. And I was like, wow, that's what I knew. We both went too far.
It's like saying Frazier and Ali, like, you know, things were said then, but, you know, it's in the spirit of competition.
We showed the world something for ourselves and for the fans. We did this for them. They can have that. Let it go.
Let it go?
Let it go.
Okay.
I can't thank you guys enough for continuing to support this channel, man. I promise I got so much more coming for you. If you enjoyed this video, please continue to share, like, and subscribe. As always, Care from Life is Lyrical. Peace, love, lyrics, 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 lyrics.